Hello, welcome, Marlene here. Today I'm working with art I purchased online, and voila, here they are completed. Today's cookie tutorial is for the snowman there on the right with the shearling hat. So let's jump into the step-by-step lesson. Here's the snowman. In this particular case, I'm going to do a 3-color fade as opposed to the 1-color fade that I did on the other snowman. I'm grabbing my darkest gray, and I'm first going to outline the body here, like so, and then there, the next gray, and then finally the white. Finish off this snowball, the head, there. I'm going to shake to get this all to heal together and self-level. And now moving on to the bottom area. So this is the middle shade of gray, and then the darkest. I'm filling in the feet so that when I lay the snowball on top, it'll be slightly in front for perspective. Like that. The final. And a shake. And you see we get this fading of colors. Now that the top and bottom have had time to crust over, I'm just going to fill the body. I'm going to actually wait for the body to dry before doing the arms, just to be extra sure that they don't spill into the other section. Sometimes the icing can spill over and then we lose the definition we're trying to achieve. So I'm just going to wait a little bit before filling in the arms. And now this medium gray, and then the darker gray right here. I'm just going to shake it to get it all to heal and smooth over to give the body a rounded area here, you see? And now my little arm area. So I'm just adding the arm on the dark side. I'm just going to have it all be the dark color and the light side will all be white. Puff it up. Just going to heal yellow. And this side, the white. There. Ready for my guides here, or my face detail, I should say. So I've got my stencil on. And I did a bit of I moved a little bit, so my stencil jumped. I'll come back and fix this eye once this has had time to dry. Adding the stencil, and I'm aligning to the hat here at the top for placement. And then I'm just kind of holding it down with my hand. You want to make sure your base icing is dry because I am pressing quite a bit. And this here is the hat, so I'm just going to remove that. I'll add the icing there, but I don't want to have that there for right now. There's the face and the button detail. I'm now moving on to his hat, and I guess it's supposed to be like a shearling hat. And so I'm going to fill this whole area here so that when I add this front part, that it's more kind of to the front. I don't want to just fill here brown and then fill this. I want this to be higher than this. So that's why I'm filling the whole area. I'm connecting here to the head, all the way to here. I'm outlining this whole hat area. And then once this has had time to crust over, I'll come in and add that front part to the hat. So the front of the hat will be at the same kind of height as those feet that I still have to add. Let's shake this. And it doesn't have to be super smooth, this area. There's for the hat. And here are the feet. You can kind of see. I'm just going to quickly add myself some guidelines. So like, I guess like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. I've added the little guidelines, and now I'm filling in the little snowballs like we did for the body. The same shadow on the same side. Even though they're smaller, I'm still going to be adding the shading like in the same area. Like that. And obviously you want to hide those little guidelines if you opted to add guidelines. Finalizing the little characters. So first off, the hat, I just want to show you a side by side. I want the hat to look like a shearling hat. It's a little too shiny, and so I'm adding just some petal dust to this, and it's just giving it more of like a velvety look. So for this guy, it's just brown petal dust, and I'm just lightly touching the surface of this brown icing with it to get more of like a velvet look on this area here. Just like that. And then I'm grabbing my pink petal dust. So there's two products, a petal dust and a luster dust. Luster, the word, it's exactly that. It's shiny, and this is matte. So I'm just touching with a little few particles of the powder, and then just like that. And then I'm grabbing my marker to just color in the mouth area in a little bit of a pink. And then with an empty, very important, empty airbrush gun, I'm just blowing off the excess particles, and he's ready for his next step. And this time I'm using my marker to add the guidelines just so that I don't get overspray on my snowman. And I'm just kind of like quickly passing in those openings with my marker to know where to put my front fluff on my hat. And now for this hat, if you've ever made a popcorn cookie, that's kind of what we're going for here. So I'm just going to be doing a bunch of random dots, skipping to the next cookie so that it dries. So it's just layering of dots on the hat. You don't want to cut a huge hole in your piping bag. Let me grab a paper towel just to wipe any excess icing. So I'm just flattening the piping bag here, and I'm going to cut a very small hole. Scissors matter. These are sewing scissors to cut thread. I find they're what work best to cut the piping bag. And here he is. Now I'm going to be just adding a bunch, like I say, of dots everywhere, and then come back after to add some on top to create the look of fluff. So this is like, you know, one of those shearling hats with the flaps that come down over the ears. So I'm just, and this is the bottom layer, so much of this will be actually hidden. But, and then to further accentuate the dots, you want to maybe add like some sort of a dust to create some, like, you know, just the shadows, make the details kind of stand out a little bit more. And this is why I added the hat, you see, behind. So now I can kind of add this, and it's on top of the face right here. And so like that. And then we're going to add another layer of this after. That, and you can just kind of drag the icing around. This is thick, it's not going to heal. You can have it be a little bit on the face on that side, and then once this has had time to dry, we're going to come back in and add another layer of these little wonky dots and continue. I didn't fill it all in just so that it would have time to dry a little bit and further accentuate the puffiness. There. There we go. And now I've got my orange. It's kind of a weird orange, I'll confess. I am not sure about it. It's a rainbow dust color, so it's not our usual kind of really carroty orange, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I've got a tiny hole, and I'm doing a corkscrew, a unicorn horn essentially, and I'm filling in to hide that black stencil area. So that turns out to just be a guideline. And then it just is like a shadow showing a little bit at the bottom, you see? As I was working on this guy, I was not always feeling it, but he's done, and I think he's pretty good. So now for the last thing, I'm going to show you how to make buttons. You see, look at these cute little buttons. So earlier I stenciled the rounds, and you could also airbrush. So I have these perfect circles right here, and that gives me the really flat kind of area for the button. You know, like a button is flat and then it has the 4 hole, well, there's all different kinds of buttons, but the standard old style with the 4 holes, and then it has this kind of beveled border. So that's what I'm going for. So now I have my dry stenciled rounds, super easy, and a very, very small hole cut in this piping bag here, and I'm doing an X across the middle. You see, so there's the stitching holding the buttons in place. So it's better to do the stitching before the perimeter, just to make sure that you're, you know, that's the center, and then you can work on the outside, just so you don't mess that the perimeter when you try to come in and fit the little stitch in the middle. So it's just better to do this order. And now I've got the same icing. I put it in a piping bag that I stenciled with. And now I am carefully outlining it, following the perimeter. You can be just on the outside. You just don't want to have the background color showing like the white. And I'm outlining this circle. And there is the little button. Should you want to recreate this design, you'll find the template attached to the post for all 3 of the snowmen. So I hope you enjoyed it. I tried to make them as different from each other as possible to showcase a variety of techniques. If you have any questions, as usual, please don't hesitate to post them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I'll see you in the next cookie tutorial.